Michigan. What is this? The PlayStation 3 deserved so much better. Mini documentary. What?
Sony had an absolutely incredible run with the PlayStation 2 as it received an incredible amount of first-party titles, third-party support, and it had a full DVD player built in. This was everything that made it so important in the early 2000s. During the gaming generation where a well-loved competitor, Sega, dropped out entirely and Nintendo was doing poorly compared to Sony and even Microsoft, the PlayStation 2 became the most successful.
The PlayStation 3 is the greatest console of all time. How many times I gotta tell y'all that?
Microsoft and Nintendo had massive plans for the 7th generation. The Xbox 360 was an explosive release for Microsoft, and the Wii finally brought Nintendo back on the spotlight. But what happened to Sony? Well, they also had massive plans for this platform, but it didn't pan out the way we all thought it would. This was a PlayStation 3, and it really could have been so much better.
Look how beautiful that PlayStation 3 looks. See, this is what I'm talking about. The PlayStation 3, bro, once again, I don't think y'all realize this. The PlayStation 3 came out in 2006. 2006. I was fucking 2006. I was 13 or 14 years old in 2006. I'm fucking 32, about to be 33 in 2 weeks. Bro, the PlayStation 3 was so ahead of its time. Even how it looks. They could come out with that design. That design right there could have been the PlayStation 5, and it would have looked like something that came out of 2020. Like, PlayStation 3 was just so ahead of its time. Fuck the bullshit.
But first, a quick word from our sponsor. I'm doing my master's in art education and...
Bro, what we talking about here? You talking about masters and shit like that. Does it look like I'm in school?
This video. The PlayStation 3 was a very, very anticipated console. When the PlayStation 3 was initially announced, it looked very different aesthetically from the PlayStation 2, but it is very similar, if not identical, to the final product. Although the controller was this strange silver boomerang, almost alien-like. It's very difficult to describe beyond what I just said, but this is such an exciting reveal to say the least. Sony looked like they were trying something completely new, but when it was revealed, it was clear that it needed more time in the oven. While the original Xbox didn't sell as much as it could have, it helped to create a name for Microsoft and was a very well-loved system. As such, when Microsoft was the first one to jump into the 7th generation with the Xbox 360, people were very excited. Many more people were willing to see what Microsoft had in store this time. When Sony revealed the PlayStation 3, it really was touted to be absolutely monstrous in terms of what it could achieve performance-wise, and it had a vast array of I/O, including 4 USB-A ports on the front and on the back an additional 2 USB-A ports.
Bro, this is fucking crazy right here. The original PlayStation 3 had 4, count them, 4 USB ports. The PlayStation 5 has... PlayStation 5 has 1 Type-C and 2 USB. Yeah, wait. Oh my gosh. Oh, I'll take that back. It got 1 Type-C and 3 USBs. And 2 of them are in the back. Why they got 2 back there in the back, I don't fucking know.
Ports, 3 entire Ethernet ports, 2 HDMI ports, an AV port, an optical audio port, a power switch, and the power connector. So in November of 2006, Sony finally unveiled the final design for the PlayStation 3 and along with its true controller. This console is absolutely massive, but it comes packed with so many bells and whistles. The PlayStation 2 is a relatively lightweight and sleek design, while the PlayStation 3 has many more curves, championing a glossy finish, and its logo now has the Spider-Man font. But Sony seems to have scaled back on a lot of the plans for this device, as you will see with the ports. On the front, you will find a compact flash slot, an SD card slot, and a Memory Stick Pro 2 slot. You will also find the 4 USB-A ports, some vents, and some touch-sensitive eject and power reset buttons, which are right under the brand new Blu-ray drive. This technology was being embraced by only Sony this time around, and with good reason. Blu-rays could hold up to 25 gigabytes of storage compared to what a DVD could hold, which was only 4.7 gigabytes. And a dual-layered Blu-ray could hold up to 50 gigabytes instead. These came a little bit later, but this is important to note because Blu-rays also support much higher resolutions for video and lossless audio, which is important for a device that was also used for media consumption. The Xbox 360 only supported DVDs, and this was a genuine advantage that it held over it. Then on the left side, you will find a hard drive bay, which is also worth noting as now we are moving towards needing a lot more storage for digital purchases and storing DLC or even save data. This is the generation where we could finally stop using memory cards that could fill up with saves only. These drives should last a lot longer, as these launched with options of either 20 gigabytes or 60 gigabytes, versus the 8 megabyte cards of years prior. Then on the back, you will find an AV port for use with composite and component cables, an optical port, a single HDMI port, and a single Ethernet port with the power-related buttons and ports towards the right side, and a giant cooling vent. As you can see, many of the ports that had been originally announced for the PlayStation 3 were axed, and we were left with a lot less. It's important to note that the PlayStation 3 launched with many important features, such as Bluetooth, as now they don't meddle with wired-only controllers.
The one thing I didn't like, I'm gonna say this much, right? As much as I talk highly about the PlayStation 3, the one thing I didn't like about the PlayStation 3 was the controller. And even though this is pretty much a standard looking PlayStation controller until PlayStation 5 came in and got that big ass fucking controller. I don't understand why they did that. I still feel like the PlayStation 4 controller is the best one. But it followed the same design as what the PlayStation 3, PlayStation 2, and the original PlayStation controller looked like. But the one thing I didn't like, though, was when I first got my PlayStation, the original PlayStation 3 controllers didn't have rumble support. It was something to do with some type of legal problems or issues or some shit like that where they couldn't have rumble in the controllers or whatnot. And they had this whole stupid ass like 6-axis bullshit where some games will utilize like 6-axis type shit, like you doing this and all this old shit, you know, stupid shit, gimmicks, fucking gimmicks. But eventually they well, I guess they was able to get the rights or whatever for rumble support. So I think in 2008, I want to say, yeah, 2008, PlayStation 3 controllers finally have rumble again. Finally. It took a year and a half for them to finally get it, but they finally had rumble again. You can buy controllers that has rumble again. But another thing that I hated about the PlayStation 3 though, and this was an issue with all the controllers, the directional pads. The material that they was made out of, and you can even see it with this one right here. Look at this. Hold on,
it's important to note that
the material that this shit, look, you see it right there, right? The material that this shit was made out of, after a while, the bottom part of the directional pad, or the analog stick, I should say, it started to peel and chip off to the point where down there became like, you couldn't really use the controller no more. It became useless. You know what I'm saying? Like you can see it right there starting to chip off and shit like that. But it get really bad. Like pieces of rubber after a while would start to break off and shit off of the analog stick. And every PlayStation 3 controller had that issue right there. I had never in my life went through so many controllers in my life until I had a PlayStation 3. PlayStation 4, the same controller that came with the system. PlayStation 5, same controller that came with the system. PlayStation 3, bro, I had dozens of controllers and they all did it. Every single last one of them did it. It got to the point where I had controllers that was all fucked up and I had like controllers that was good. So I'll play certain games with the fucked up controller, or if I had friends over or something like that, I'll give them one of those fucked up ass controllers. And then the good controllers I'll use for like, you know, games that, you know what I'm saying, I need a good ass controller and stuff like that. But that shit was fucking wild though. That shit was fucking wild. Every controller did that shit. What is your favorite PlayStation controller? PlayStation 4. It's the best one. It's the best one. I like the PlayStation 4 controller. I mean, when I play Call of Duty now, I'm using the PlayStation 4 controller. PlayStation 4 controller is the best one. I like small controllers. I'm sorry. I like to have a small controller in my hand. I don't like big controllers. That's why when they came out with the PlayStation 5 controller, I wasn't a fan of it. Same thing with the Xbox controllers. Xbox controllers, for the most part, always been kind of big and shit like that. I'm not fans of like Xbox controllers. The only thing I like about Xbox controllers is how the analog sticks are faced. Like you got one upwards and one downwards. That's the only thing I like about an Xbox controller. But the size of the controllers that they be having, I don't be liking them. Like even with my my original Xbox. Y'all remember the original Xbox, that big fat ass controller? I could never use it. I went to GameStop and bought me a fucking what was that? They used to make controllers back in the day. I don't even think they make controllers now. What was they called? I think they was called Mad Cats. I think that's what they was called. They was called Mad Cats or Mad something. But I used to buy their controllers because they had like different controllers or whatever, different design controllers or whatever for the systems back then. So when it came to my Xbox, I used a Mad Cat controller. I couldn't use the original Xbox controller. That controller was huge. Think of a PlayStation 5 controller, but 2 times bigger than that. That's a big ass controller. For a little old, you talking about Xbox One? The original Xbox? So what? You talking about, I don't know, what, 10-year-old me? 11-year-old me? I couldn't play with that big ass controller.
But the PlayStation 3 launched with many important features such as Bluetooth, as now they don't meddle with wired-only controllers, and the main way of playing is wirelessly. This also has Wi-Fi built in, which is a huge deal as online gaming will truly become a cornerstone of what makes the 7th generation so impactful. But my favorite
Wi-Fi
feature is how the PlayStation 3 was built to be fully backwards compatible with the PlayStation 1 and...
Bro, listen to that again. In 2006, the PlayStation 3 had built-in Wi-Fi. I get it. Wi-Fi is a terrible way to connect to the internet. But when it's fucking 2006 and the fucking router is way in the fucking living room and your PlayStation is way in your fucking room, I don't know what fucking world that we live in back in 2006 that my mama was going to allow me to run a fucking Ethernet cord from the fucking living room all the way to my room. It wasn't going to happen. It wasn't. Now, when I got older and shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, even right now, my fucking Xfinity box is out there. And then I'm running a gigabit cat, like, I don't know, cat 6, cat 7, whatever, Ethernet cord to my router. My router is sitting right here. Then from right here, I got another one, Ethernet cord running to my PC that's right back here. So that's how I got it set up now. But back then in fucking 2006, that shit wasn't fucking happening. Jimmy the Pounder, what's going on with you, gang? Sorry to cut this short, man, but I got to wake up in the morning, man. Y'all stay blessed, man. Hey, man, do your thing. Also, you already know, gang. All love, baby. All love, baby. You know what I'm saying? But yeah. So for the PlayStation to have Wi-Fi, because I'm not going to lie to y'all. I played all my games back in the day on PlayStation. I used Wi-Fi. I didn't know no better. Wi-Fi, fuck it. The fuck I need to hook this motherfucker up for? I use Wi-Fi. And that shit was perfectly fine for me in 2006, 2007 standards. But for the PlayStation 3 to have that, that's the coolest shit in the world right there. Fucking built-in Wi-Fi. The Xbox 360 did not have that. You had to buy another dongle or some shit that costs $100. And this is another thing, right? People used to sit there and gripe on PlayStation 3. Oh my gosh, the PlayStation 3 cost $600 and all this old shit. Now, granted, $600 was a lot of money in 2006 standards. With inflation, I think I seen a video a long time ago. With inflations, you know, that would be like the equivalent of like $900 today. You feel me? So that was a lot of money back then. And shout out to my mama and daddy because they bought me that PlayStation 3. I still remember it. I got my PlayStation 3 June 10th, 4 days before my birthday, 2007. That's when I got my PlayStation 3. Shout out to my mama and daddy. They got that for me. But people used to sit there and complain about the PlayStation 3 being $600 and the Xbox is, well, the Xbox is better and you're paying all that money for what? You know what I'm saying? The Xbox is better. Well, when you really think about it, check this out, right? The PlayStation 3 was $600. The Xbox was what? What was it, like $400? Or some shit like that? $300? $400? One into two? I don't know. But if you look at everything that you was getting with the PlayStation 3 versus the Xbox 360, and if you wanted some of those features from the PlayStation 3 on the Xbox, you pretty much was paying the same amount. Fly, what are you talking about? You're not making sense. Hear me out. PlayStation 3 had built-in Wi-Fi. Xbox didn't. If you wanted to get Wi-Fi on your Xbox, you had to buy a dongle that Microsoft sold. That dongle cost $100. So now, if you buy that dongle in the Xbox 360, now we're at $500, right? Because it's an extra $100 for that dongle. So now the Xbox is $500. And then, when it came to the Blu-ray and HD DVD and all that dumbass shit, if you wanted to buy that adapter to watch HD DVDs on your Xbox, that right there, I think was another $100 or $150, one of the two. So if you got that, now we're at $600 for the Xbox. On top of, you got to pay a yearly subscription to play on Xbox Live, which was $50. So now the Xbox is $650 because the PlayStation 3, for you to play online on PlayStation 3, guess what? It was free. Message! It was free. No subscription. No subscription. Now, I get it. Now, PlayStation, they charge now and shit like that. But back then, PlayStation 3, just buy the game and play it. As long as you got internet, and that's how it should be. That's how it fucking should be. As long as I got internet, why am I paying an extra, $50 for online service? For what? What am I getting out of that? That was the dumbest thing in the world for Xbox to be doing that shit back then. Well, the reason why you was paying for Xbox Live was because you can voice chat and party chat and blah, blah. You can do all that shit on the PlayStation. What are we talking about here? Hello? You can do all that shit on the PlayStation. What are we talking about? What are you paying $50 for? Huh? That's why I always said, black people always choose PlayStation. White people, they choose Xbox. That's tough! Come on, bro. You're spending all this money for what? I'm coming from the south. I'm coming from the south side of Chicago. It was already a blessing that I was able to get this goddamn new generation console. But you want my mama or my daddy to spend another $50 per month or per year for some online service? They gonna look at me crazy like, what the fuck are we paying $50 for when we already got internet in the house? That's what they're charging, Dad. I don't know. They're charging us additional $50 on top of the internet bill that you got to pay per month just to play the games online. I don't get it. That's another reason why I don't like playing games on the consoles nowadays. Because now they both do it now, Xbox and PlayStation. They both charge motherfuckers $50 a year or whatever, to play games online and shit like that. Versus me playing these games on PC. They're not charging me nothing to play this game on PC. I'm not charging nothing. The only thing I got to pay for is my internet. I don't have to pay no extra fees and all that old shit. So that's why I rock with the PlayStation 3 so heavily. And like I keep on saying, PlayStation 3 will forever be my favorite system of all time. There's nothing that y'all can say to change my mind about that. Fuck you and your Xbox. All right? That's how I feel about it. Fuck you and that Xbox. You can shove that motherfucker where the sun don't shine. And that's a fact.
Message.
Shit. Motherfuckers, I used to make videos back in the day about this shit. Motherfuckers used to come and argue with me about an Xbox versus a PlayStation. Shut your ass up. You ain't even making no sense. A Xbox? The fuck is that? It don't even sound cool when you say it. I got an Xbox. You got a what? A Xbox. No, it sounds like you got a... Ooh, I can't say that word. Hold on. That's tough! Oh, hold on now, Fly. We're streaming now. I almost slipped up. I was about to say the F word. Almost slipped up. I was about to say you got a mag box. Use your imagination. You know, switch that M with an F. You got a mag box. That's what you got. You know what I'm saying? And not no Xbox. That's a mag box. No, I got a PlayStation. I don't want that shit.
And PlayStation 2, allowing you to just insert a disc and play whatever you want. On top of that, this wasn't achieved through emulation, but these PS2 games were being played natively with the advantage that you can play these on a modern display through HDMI with no need for an external upscaler or converter. All of these features sounds great, but there ended up being a lot of revisions of what we now call the fat model. This one here is one of those revisions, and they removed the two of those USB ports from the front, as well as every single port from what is now a welded shut plastic panel. And the worst exclusion being the removal of native backwards compatibility with PlayStation 2 games. Now it's just emulation.
And this is another thing, right? Usually, like in today's world, fucking like PlayStation 4, for example, right? You had the original PlayStation 4 that came out in 2003. And then like 3-4 years later, you had the PlayStation 4 Pro, which is a better console than just a regular PlayStation 4. Same thing with the PlayStation 5. You had the PlayStation 5 that came out in 2020. Then like a year ago now or something like that, you had the PlayStation 5 Pro to come out, right? The PlayStation 3 was such a hit of its time. It didn't need to make a better console than what the PlayStation 3 was. In fact, what they ended up doing, because people was bitching and crying too goddamn much, the best consoles of the PlayStation, or the best versions, let me use my words right. The best versions of the PlayStation 3 was the launch consoles. And that was the original 60 and original 20 gig. When they started coming out with the 80 and the 160 and then the slim and the super slim and all that old shit, those are gutted out versions of the original PlayStation 3. Only the original PlayStation 3 20 and 60 gig version is backwards compatible to play PlayStation and PlayStation 2 games. When it came out with the 80 gig, it was like 80% backwards compatible. When it came out with the 160 gig, no PlayStation 2 games. When it came out with the Slim, no PlayStation 2 games. When it came out with the Super Slim, no PlayStation 2 games. They started making cheaper and affordable consoles versus what they launched with. And that's what I had. I had the original 60 gig. I remember, I love that console, man. God damn, man. I wish I still fucking had that. One of these days, I'm going to end up buying me, I don't know how, but one of these days, I'm going to end up buying me original PlayStation 3 again. I probably never going to play it, but I just want to have it. I just want to have it just to say I got it. I got to find a way to get this.
Due to the removal of the Emotion Engine from later models. As mentioned earlier, that wonky boomerang controller that was initially revealed was replaced with what they called the 6-axis controller, which looks like the natural evolution of the DualShock 2 controller. They kept almost every flaw and quirk from the previous one, including the exact same form factor, the same directional buttons, the same face buttons, and the same less than optimal thumbsticks. I have never liked these thumbsticks because they have always felt slippery and cheap. But with this iteration, this controller is now wireless from the factory, and it charges over mini USB, which saved many from having to buy new batteries all of the time. This was a great choice.
That's another thing. I forgot to say. The PlayStation 3 had wireless controllers that didn't use batteries. Fly, why did you say that like that means something? The Xbox had wireless controllers too. You had to use fucking batteries. Like, what the fuck? You had to use fucking batteries. Matter of fact, hey. This is the Xbox controller. this is an Xbox controller, right? For the new Xbox, right? Guess what this motherfucker uses? Guess what this motherfucker uses? Something that came out in 2020. Guess what this motherfucker uses? Fucking battery steel. Fucking battery steel. A device that came out, manufactured in 2020, still fucking using batteries. Come on, bro. Come on, bro. Boy, I used to eat these little kids alive when it came to arguments and debates on YouTube, early days of YouTube or forums and shit like that, trying to sit there and convince me that an Xbox is better than a PlayStation. Shut up. You sound stupid. You don't even believe what you're saying. You know, the only reason why you're saying that dumbass shit is because that, you know, your mama bought you that bullshit ass console and you really wanted a PlayStation, but she bought you that Xbox though, and now you got to live with it, you know? Hey, it is what it is, dog. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. But the Xbox is stupid though. It's fucking stupid. The only way that you can get a Xbox controller that's truly wireless, truly wireless, is the Xbox Elite controller. That's it. Other than that, that bitch gonna take batteries, bro. The fuck?
This is also a 6-axis controller, as it now features a full gyroscope and motion controls, but it sadly did not include rumble functionality due to a legal dispute with a certain company that argued about Sony's implementation of haptics in previous controllers. Only the consumer lost out in this case. This was later rectified with the release of the DualShock 3 controller, which is almost completely identical to the original 6-axis controller, except that it is now slightly heavier and has rumble. So with all of
Hey, I'm not gonna lie. That original 6-axis controller before they had rumble in there, and granted, right? This is 2025 fly. I got a fucking Pro Elite controller right here, PlayStation 4, that has no rumble inside of it. This controller is light as shit. But back then though, when rumble was still a thing and people wanted to use it for playing like story-driven games and shit like that, feeling that original PlayStation 3 controller with no rumble was the weirdest shit ever. The controller had so many like creaks and cracks and shit. It was the weirdest shit in the world. I swear to God, that shit was so goddamn weird. And thankfully, they finally came out with one that had rumble in there.
With this in mind, it is safe to say that Sony was riding the high of being so overwhelmingly successful with the PS2. So much so that they made some very serious investments into the PlayStation 3 as a platform. As such, when the PlayStation 3 launched in November 2006, Sony released 2 models. There was the 20GB model with no chrome trimming, flashcard readers of any kind, or Wi-Fi that launched at $499. Then the model that people really wanted the most, that came with everything I mentioned, and a 60GB hard drive on top of that, launched at $599. This was unheard of in the home.
Hey, when I got my PlayStation 3, bro, I know I keep on pausing, man. It's just, I have so many memories, so many fond memories about the PlayStation 3. I remember, right? I didn't even get a brand new PlayStation 3. I got a pre-owned from GameStop. I pre-owned PlayStation 3. I pre-owned PlayStation 3. And it was a 60 gig. And you know what's crazy? You know, I guess back then, I didn't know about it, but I guess back then, the PlayStation 3, the original ones, they ran into issues of like overheating and stuff like that because of like poor ventilation and all that old shit. And both those consoles, you know, the PlayStation and the Xbox, both had like issues of overheating and all that old shit. But I never had that issue though. I never ran into that issue. I think because I always like to keep my room nice and cold and shit. Like I always been like that since a child. I guess that's the only reason. But I will say this though. I will say this. I used to keep my room nice and cold, right? Because I like being in the cold when I'm in the house. Outside, I hate the cold. But in the house, though, I'm comfortable when it's cold. I don't know why I'm weird like that. The PlayStation 3 put out so much heat, so much exhaust. It literally always kept my room fucking warm. Like, my room was hot as hell. That PlayStation 3 put out, like, my PC right here don't even put out that much heat as that PlayStation 3 did. That motherfucker used to keep my room hot as shit. I never had to turn on the little floor heater and shit like. I never had to turn that shit on in the wintertime. long as that PlayStation 3 running, the room is nice and warm. So warm that I had a fan on in that motherfucker. It got hot. And that motherfucker was loud too. It sounded like a plane. It was just, you could just hear just, that motherfucker was wild. Shit looked like a battle station.
Console market, and it came as a huge surprise when Sony had been the most consumer friendly of the bunch. But Sony was selling these at a massive loss, as they were selling these for roughly $200 less than what it cost them to make. This was such an expensive platform due to every modern and future-proof feature that they baked in, even considering that Blu-ray readers were pretty expensive on their own. This was absolutely ridiculous. With that aside, the PlayStation 3 adopted an interface that PSP owners were enjoying, as this one does still look really nice to this day. It was just simple and clean with a
Still
wave in the
good.
background constantly running, and you could manage downloads, PlayStation Store for buying games and movies, music players, Wi-Fi settings, photos, stored.
You gotta think about it, right? Oh, okay. I'm about to say, what the fuck was that? You gotta think about it, right? It's 2007. I don't think flat screen TVs was around just yet. Or if they was very expensive. We didn't have a flat screen TV. We had a fucking what was it? It was a 55-inch plasma TV by Hirachi. Y'all remember Hirachi? It was by Hirachi. And this motherfucker, right? It ran like one of the weirdest inputs ever. It ran full 720p, but when it came to 1080, it didn't do 1080p. It did 1080i. Like, what the fuck is 1080i? Like, it was the weirdest shit ever. But, man, we had that TV for so goddamn long. I remember when my mama bought that TV. She got that TV back in, like, 2003 or 2004 or something from Circuit City. She spent, like, $2,000 for that TV. It was something like that. I remember it was two something. I know that for a fact. But we had that TV from, like, 2003 to, like, 2011. We had that fucking TV. Incredible. You know what I'm saying? But I used to play on that TV and shit like that. Big ass 55-inch. And then my first ever flat screen that I ever had, where I can play like more competitive games and stuff like that. Even though I wasn't playing competitively, but you know, I took it serious though, like the Call of Duties and all that old shit, right? My dad for Christmas, actually, 2009, Christmas of 2009, he bought me a I think it was either a 22 or a 24-inch Vizio. It was 22 inches Vizio. That shit was like $300. You know what I'm saying? Like, god damn. But I had that motherfucker though, man. And that shit, hey, that shit from that day on, I see why motherfuckers like playing on small monitors when it comes to certain video games, because you can see everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, that shit right there was crazy. For real. Okay, can you tell me who's this chick? Who's this chick is on the left side of your profile? A female? A girl? A girl that I know? I can't take a photo with a female? What, you want to take a photo with a guy? Like, that don't sound cool. You want to post a picture and have it as my shit with a guy next to me? It sounds weird. Look, hey, I get it, bro. It's June and all, bro. But hey, man, I'm strictly pussy, bro. I don't know what the fuck you got going on. All right? Because you're starting to scare me now. You know what I'm saying? Teach his own, whatever you like. But don't put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. The fuck is going on here? God damn.
Content of any kind, and more. This was a gorgeous interface that really looks amazing on an HD TV. The PlayStation 3 was a beautiful console, but there were simply so many hurdles in the way that caused PlayStation as a platform and a name to lose momentum and begin losing steam throughout. And that all started from its unfortunately received launch and continued through everything that came later. That's not even acknowledging how cocky Sony was at this time, with quotes such as, "Our goal for PlayStation 3 is for consumers to think to themselves."
You all good, man. Hey, it's just a couple things in this world that I don't play with. I don't play about my son, and I don't play about my dick. All right? Hey.
Message.
I'm just letting you know. There's a couple things I just don't play about. My son and my dick. All right? We ain't gonna get down on those type of stories. Shit.
Themselves, I will work for hours to buy one. Want people to feel that they want it, irrespective of anything else. But little did they know, they were set for a reality check shortly after. There were many complications regarding the PlayStation 3's hardware, and some of those did affect the kinds of games and rate of releases, as well as quality control that caused problems for gamers. But there were many things that the PlayStation 3 still did well. These are the games that made the most of the PlayStation 3. The PlayStation 2 was known for being a console whose hardware was underutilized. Sony had created the Emotion Engine chip, which was in theory more capable than what the Dreamcast offered and could technically achieve more than even the GameCube when put into the right hands. The Emotion Engine was set to handle particle effects more readily, reflections, as well as facial expressions and emotions in ways that the competition never got around to during the 6th generation. But it was more difficult to program for, which caused a lot of its ports to look worse than they did on other platforms. But
that's crazy. I didn't know that about the PlayStation 2. I knew about the PlayStation 3. The architect behind it was very difficult for developers to make games or whatever. Me personally, I see that as the excuse of motherfuckers being lazy and shit. 'Cause look at these developers now. Everything nowadays is unified. Everything is, hardware wise is pretty much the same. And these motherfuckers can't make a good game to save their ass. You know what I'm saying? Y'all use that excuse way back then that the shit was too difficult to work on. Now everything is uniform across the board when it comes to the PlayStation and Xbox, and y'all still make shitty ass games. What the fuck is going on? Shit. But yeah, I remember back in the day, developers and stuff like that used to say the PlayStation 3's architect is very difficult to develop games on and stuff like that, especially when it came to like port games. So pretty much a port game is a game that comes out on both systems, the Xbox and the PlayStation. So usually when it came to the PlayStation 3, like a Call of Duty or a 2K or a Madden or something like that, it will look better on the Xbox than what it did on the PlayStation. Because what they did was they'll design the game around the Xbox architect and then just port it over to the PlayStation. So we got the sloppy seconds, all right? But when it came to exclusives, though, where that game is only coming out on that platform, the PlayStation games always look better than what the Xbox games look like. Always. I knew that about the PlayStation 3. I didn't know that PlayStation 2 had that same issue too as well. That's new news to me.
Games that utilized the Emotion Engine chip well ended up looking better on the PlayStation 2. Either way, the PlayStation 2 was a weaker console compared to the GameCube and the Xbox, which pushed Sony to want to develop a CPU and GPU combination that would prove to be exceptional in terms of performance. This is when the Cell processor comes into play, and it showcases raw power with a 3.2 GHz CPU with a total of 8 threads that developers could take advantage of. However, this was still a complex platform to program and develop for, as this technically wasn't one that was meant for game development to begin with. So while you do have a lot of power behind the CPU, developers had to somehow develop incredible experiences for a platform that wasn't friendly to their needs. On the development side of things, those who worked on games had a more difficult time porting or programming for the PlayStation 3. But on the consumer side, we were seeing some consoles start to fail. The yellow light of death comes to mind, as this would be triggered due to a few different hardware-related failures or issues such as overheating, potentially causing the solder joints of the CPU to become detached from the board. Other issues such as power supply concerns, system...
Now, I always heard about that issue back in the day, but like I said, I never had that issue with my PlayStation. And I think those cases of PlayStations having those issues was like few and none, I think. Because I didn't hear a lot of people. I knew a couple of people that had PlayStations. Nobody never had no issues. But what did have a fucking issue was that fucking Xbox. That Xbox forever had the red ring of death. Everybody that I knew that had an Xbox eventually experienced that shit. Like, goddamn. Shit. Xbox was just... That motherfucker was just crapping out on himself.
Errors, bad ribbon cables, and many more factors went into causing the yellow light of death. However, for those that did get to make the most out of their PlayStation 3s, those users got to enjoy the introduction of the PlayStation Network, which was a free online service with servers being supported by Sony. It wasn't the best service, especially considering that Sony was fronting all of the costs for these servers to work, and as such, they weren't as good as a paid Xbox Live service. Regardless of this fact, many people were willing to deal with a less reliable service if it meant that it was free. And even if there were hiccups in the gaming experience, the PlayStation 3 received an absolutely amazing selection of games for this generation. I wouldn't say that the launch titles for the PlayStation 3 really helped to sell it very much, as there just wasn't that much interest for Madden, NBA 2K7, and such, especially as these games did not look that much better than the PlayStation 2 game. But it's the titles that started pouring in later that really sold the PlayStation 3 in the long run. Games like The Last of Us offered an amazing narrative.
Hey, speaking of games like Madden and 2K and all that old shit, hey, that's when I quickly started to realize, right, that game development on that generation of consoles, I don't know what generation that, generation like 8 or 7 or some shit like that, because we're on generation 9, I think. So that would be like 7, yeah. Like you still had games coming out on the original Xbox and PlayStation 2, but also coming out on the new consoles too as well. It was always like football games and sports games shit. The better version of the game always was on the previous generation and shit. Yeah, the new generation had better graphics, but like mechanically, the games was like lackluster and shit. It didn't have a lot of features and shit
to follow, and it is one of the more well-remembered games from this generation. Uncharted games also offered a lot of fun to gamers.
That was my shit right there.
It was one of the most important
games
on this
1 and
platform
2
specifically, as it was exclusive to Sony here. A series of games that helps to show how powerful this generation of consoles were was the Final Fantasy 13 trilogy. These games looked absolutely amazing,
played Final Fantasy.
even if the story and even gameplay are divisive for many. I thought the games were lots of fun, and they've aged incredibly well visually. Some other incredible exclusives include Metal Gear Solid 4, Guns of the Patriots, Heavy Rain, Infamous 2, the Kingdom Hearts remasters, which were really good on this platform, Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm, the first one, Journey, Little Big Planet 1 and 2, God of War 3, Demon Souls, Bayonetta, Final Fantasy XIV, even if it was available on PCs at the time, and more games that I enjoyed a lot. And as for some of the other incredible titles that we got later on in the cycle that were available on the 360 and the PlayStation 3, these are going to include Assassin's Creed 1, Brotherhood, 2, Revelations, and yes, even Assassin's Creed 3 were tons of fun. Dark Souls 1 and 2 also came out on this platform, and while Dark Souls 1 was very well loved, Dark Souls 2 definitely disappointed a lot of fans, but they were both really good. Games like The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion were very well received because it was such a deep game with lots to do, even if the visuals were somewhere between a last-gen title and a current-gen one. But The Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim was a huge visual update and the biggest entry into the Elder Scrolls
I never
series
played none of
ever.
these games.
It was released absolutely everywhere for many years to come.
That's crazy. I never played none of those games right there. Like, I can literally sit here and tell you every game that I played on the PlayStation 3. I played a lot of sports games. Madden, 2K, Call of Duty. I had Demon Soul. I had Little Big Planet. I had Uncharted 1 and 2. Killzone. Warhawk. I think that's how you call it. Warhawk. Mag. Resistance 2, that was a fun ass game. NASCAR game, well, sports game still. And then that's pretty much it. I didn't play a lot of games. I had my few games that I liked and I just played that shit.
Call of Duty Black Ops was also massive at this time, and games like BioShock 1, 2, and Infinite were huge entries here too.
Y'all know a game that I want to play? And I think I could play it on the PC. I just never got around to doing it. And I always wanted to play this game because I be watching people play this game or watching videos of it. I'm so goddamn sleepy. Excuse me. What's that game called? Fallout 77. I want to play that. I don't know when, but one of these days I gotta play that shit.
That's not even to mention the Mass Effect games, the Dragon Ball Raging Blast games, Xenoverse towards the end of the generation, the many Ultimate Ninja Storm games which include 2, Generations, 3, and Revolution, the many Rock Band and Guitar Hero titles with their respective accessories, Street Fighter 4, Portal 2,
I had Street
Red
Fighter
Dead
4.
Redemption,
I
Grand
had
Theft
Red
Auto
Dead.
4,
I had
Killzone
Grand Theft
2,
Auto.
Far Cry 3, Fallout 3, LA Noire, Dead Space 2, Dishonored, Hotline Miami, Minecraft, Crysis 1 and 2, among so many incredible experiences
Minecraft was out
through
back
this
then?
entire generation. This was one of the best times to be alive as a gamer and to be as involved as possible in the scene. But of course, the most impactful game of this generation as it was released when it was just about to end was Grand Theft Auto 5. Much more significant later, but the GTA games were at their biggest this generation. It simply can't be understated how impactful this generation was in the gaming space. We had so many incredible experiences available on every single platform, and the PlayStation 3 proved to be no exception at the end of it all. The PlayStation 3 managed to squeeze in many amazing experiences for gamers, but many of the hardware concerns and pricing issues had to be addressed throughout this generation to ensure that it became as accessible as possible. This fat model had a bunch of different revisions, including different storage sizes, the removal of hardware backwards compatibility with PS2 games, the removal of different ports, and more. But the best revision for the PlayStation 3 came with a slim model. In 2009, we got the PlayStation 3 Slim.
Hey, fun fact, right? This is a fun fact, right? I had a PlayStation 3 Slim, and I'm gonna tell you the reason why I had a PlayStation 3 Slim. Actually, I take that back. I went through 3 PlayStation 3s, and I'm gonna tell you why I went through 3 PlayStation 3s. My original 60 gig, it pains me to say this, what I did to fuck it up. But my original 60 gig PlayStation 3, the OG, the best PlayStation 3 that they could possibly make, I got banned on it. And when I say I got banned on it, I got permanently banned. Like, you're never coming back from this ban on this console. And you're probably sitting there like, Fly, what did you do? I'm going to tell you what I did. Back when everybody wanted to play this new beta of a game, well, it wasn't really a game, but this new beta of a new game that was coming out called Home, I had beta codes for it because I was making YouTube videos back then and shit like that. So I was getting shit like that, right? So my ass, with me coming from the southeast side of Chicago, always on some finessing, trying to scam motherfuckers. I told people, if you want the beta code, let me download, because back then, if you had somebody's account information, you can put it onto your PlayStation and you can download their games that they got. You know, like the games that you get from the PlayStation Store, you can download those games and shit. And I think as long as they're not playing it, or I think even if they are playing it, you can play it. You can play it. You feel me? You can play it. And you don't even have to be logged in into their account. You just have to have their account on the PlayStation, but you don't have to be logged into there because it'll download it and you can use it on your account. So what I did was I told people I'll give them the beta code if you let me download games. And I tricked like 10 people into giving me their account information. I downloaded those games and I changed their password. So obviously, as any good Samaritan would do, they contacted Sony, and one day I turn on the PlayStation and it says that I'm banned. And then when I called Sony, they told me, yeah, you're banned for fraudulent credit card theft, some shit they said. And I'm like, okay, so how long is my ban? What, 7 days, maybe 30 tops? No, you're hard banned. Like, your console is a brick now. You're never getting back online with this console. Never. Since there was credit card information involved, this console is forever banned. I said, what the fuck? What the fuck? Like, what is going on? You feel me? Like, what is going on? So what did I end up doing was, man, bro, I'm such a scammer, bro. I swear to God, I'm such a scammer. What I ended up doing was I sold the PlayStation 3 back to GameStop, right? Sold it back to GameStop. And I knew that when it came to GameStop, the one that I always went to, I knew these guys. I knew these, like, I didn't know them personally, but I knew how they operated, right? These dudes was stupid. Like, they talk about video games all fucking day, but they was fucking stupid and lazy. So I knew they're gonna check the console, make sure, you know, it works and all that old shit, but they're not gonna see if you can get online with it. All they're gonna do is plug it up, make sure all the ports work, plug a controller, make sure the controller works, put a game in, make sure the game plays, and boom, they're gonna buy it. But they're not gonna check it if it goes online or not. I knew that. So I sold it to them. I got like, I don't know, I got like, don't let me start lying. I don't know, it was like, I don't know, like $300 and some for it, some shit like that. It was enough money where all I had to do was add like another $80, and I went and bought me another PlayStation 3. So I sold it to that GameStop where I knew they was gonna do that dumb shit. Went to another GameStop, bought me another PlayStation 3, boom, back online. Back online with my same account. And yeah, that's how I lost my original 60 gig PlayStation. Because I did that dumbass shit back then. That shit was stupid. Dumb as hell. That's what's going on with you guys, man. Long time no see, man. What the word is?
The PlayStation 3 Slim was an improvement from the fat model in almost every single regard. The PS3 Slim is considerably smaller than the original model, but it is still hefty and does still occupy a pretty large footprint, even if it looks better and it still fits better into most people's homes. This is especially interesting when you think about how Sony took a PlayStation 2 model and somehow shrunk it to be astronomically compact. The Slim model for the PS3 is still noticeably larger than a fat PS2. I will never stop acknowledging this, but it needed to still be relatively large because the PlayStation 3's hardware runs really hot and it needs all of that space in order to remain properly cooled. It now features a matte texture, which was a point of contention with the original glossy finish, which was a fingerprint magnet. The Slim model has a new PS3 logo that is a little more iconic, even if a little more muted than the more aggressive logo from the original. On the front, you will find your set of two USB-A buttons, and the hard drive bay is now more accessible than before. The sleep, wake, and eject buttons are still in the same location, and they are now physical buttons with actual feedback when pressed. On the back, you will find an Ethernet port, HDMI port, AV port, power connector, cooling vents, and an optical audio port. Those two USB ports on the back of the system were removed, and of course, there was no hardware backwards compatibility with the PlayStation 3. This had been removed from the later revisions of the fat model, but the Slim ones definitely don't have them either. The Slim system is a special edition console themed after Final Fantasy XIII, and I believe it looks absolutely amazing. This is the generation where we started seeing more special edition consoles actually hit North America. Sony would also bundle the PlayStation 3 Slim with 120GB hard drives at the lowest end and 320GB hard drives at the highest end, which is a huge improvement from the highest that we ever got on the fat models, that being 160GB and only 60GB at launch in 2006. However, the PlayStation 3 Slim addresses a lot of issues with the hardware and the original fat models.
Why you out here fucking with people, man? You better stop fucking with people, man. You know, people out here it's crazy times, man. You need to stop fucking with people, man. Especially in the movie theater, where you know, a lot of times dumb shit happens and shit. That's why I don't go to the movie theater no more. Too many weirdos around me at one time. I can't do it. You know what I'm saying? Too much weird shit going on. Sitting there watching a movie with your old lady and shit, or whatever, and then before you know it, some motherfucker with colorful ass hair and shit get to yelling and screaming and shit, and bang, bang, bang. I'm not going to no fucking movie theater. I'm not doing that. I'm cool, man. I love my life. I'm not going to no goddamn movie theater. You better leave people alone.
PS3 Slim models are essentially immune to the yellow light of death that plagued the original models, as it is more energy efficient and it generates less heat, which causes the Slim model to be more reliable. It is also quieter compared to the Fat variant, while looking a lot better in my opinion. The Slim model launched at a huge price cut compared to the original Fat model, being released at $299, half of what the highest-end OG model cost. This helped to make the PS3 much more accessible to many others who had been apprehensive previously or that maybe lost their Xbox 360 due to its lingering red ring of death issues and just wanted to migrate. Now things were looking up for Sony, and the PlayStation 3 as the competition grew steadily with major pushes from the Xbox 360, as even Microsoft responded in kind to the Slim's release with their own S model for only $199 in 2010. But in 2011, something terrible happened to PlayStation 3 owners, as many of them were stripped of the ability.
I know what he's about to say about 2011. That's when Sony got hacked or whatever, and we went like a whole month with no online and shit. But PlayStation did resolve the issue and gave everybody free video games. So W to PlayStation. We were stripped of online service for a month, but we got free video games out the end of this shit. So that was W. But no, let me say this real quick, right? Another thing about the Xbox, I just now thought about, right? Didn't they sell Xbox 360s at first, like the original Xbox 360 before they started making the other versions of it? Didn't they sell Xbox 360s with no hard drives? Like you just can't save no games? Like, oh, wrong button. Like, didn't they do that? I could have sworn I remember Xbox doing some dumb shit like that where they sold Xbox 360s with no hard drives. So what the fuck you gonna save the game to, huh? And if you want a hard drive, you gotta spend $100. Like that's crazy. Like that shouldn't even be an option right there. Like what can I save? I have no hard drive. Well, you can use a memory stick. Who the fuck has a memory stick? Stop making excuses for this terrible ass company of Microsoft. God damn, you motherfuckers still went out there and bought that bullshit ass console. Motherfucker didn't have no hard drive, couldn't save no games, no Wi-Fi, no Blu-ray. The fuck is HD DVD? Where did that shit ended up? Huh? Talk to me. You had to buy dongles and shit, extra accessories, batteries in your controller. Huh? Talk to me. And then, on top of all that bullshit, they was charging you motherfuckers $50 a year for Xbox Live. So not only you got to pay for your internet service, Comcast or whatever you motherfuckers got per month, but then you got to spend another $50 for Xbox Live on top of a system that was faulty and had reliability issues. I don't even think the motherfucker had an HDMI port. They were still using motherfucking the red, yellow, and orange wires. The fuck got that? You motherfuckers really went out and bought that shit? Man, y'all are crazy, bro. I can't believe y'all went out and got that. Come on, man. And you motherfuckers, the same motherfuckers that made your parents go out and buy that bullshit, or you spent your own money on that bullshit, look how you grew up to be. You grew up to be a fucking weirdo. Hey, I'm just calling the spade what it is, man. You grew up to be a fucking weirdo. All right? One of those woe is me motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? When somebody always feels sorry for you and shit. Like the world revolves around you and shit. You're the Xbox 360 owner. Acting like that. The fuck out my face, man. I couldn't stand motherfuckers that had that goddamn Xbox. You motherfuckers thought that y'all shit didn't stink until somebody smacks you in the back of your head and then you want to cry wolf.
Ability to play online or access PlayStation Network settings. This caused a lot of concerns, even leading to many lawsuits and growing pains within those who remained loyal to Sony through all of these years. This was the sudden shutdown of PSN, and hackers were responsible.
I remember that shit. That shit happened during the summertime. I remember that shit. 2011. I remember that shit.
That same year, Sony had threatened legal action against two individuals who were involved, which were two hackers known as GeoHot and Graph_Chocolo over the work that they've done in identifying vulnerabilities in Sony's hardware and working on exploits to potentially install custom firmware. This would have been done through a feature that came in every PlayStation 3 system called Install Other OS, as it was previously used to install Linux on it. When Sony became aware.
Hey, let me also say this too, right? I'm sorry, I gotta keep on pausing the video, but like I say, I just got so many fond memories of the PlayStation 3. It's my favorite console of all time. Do you know, fun fact, do you know, on top of having PlayStation N for free, right? You can play online games for free. Did you know that the PlayStation had a web browser? Like a real life web browser where you can surf the fucking internet. Google, YouTube, Facebook. Matter of fact, you can even download shit. You know how many fucking full-length movies I had on my PlayStation 3? Because it allowed you to download shit from the web onto your system? Bro. And you're going to sit here and tell me that the Xbox 360 was better. You motherfuckers didn't even have a motherfucking web browser. You didn't even have a web browser. You talking about 14, 15-year-old me, right? On the PlayStation. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. I didn't stumble upon a website of a female doing assiduous things. And I was able to watch those videos at full leisure in my room. And nobody knew about it. Because, Lord behold, if I did that on the family Toshiba laptop that was out there in the living room, oh my gosh. My mama whooped my ass so badly when she looked at the browsing history of that laptop, and I just got done using it. She knocked on the door. I said, yeah. Let me talk to you. I said, wait, what? When she ported at the Toshiba laptop with the website pulled up,
We hear you looking for Candyman, bitch.
I already knew what it was. And her whooping my ass didn't scare me because I got ass whooping plenty of times. So that didn't scare me. What scared me was when she told my dad. That's what scared me. And my dad, he never had to whoop my ass. It's just that talk that he gives me. Because my dad, he's going to use words. And he knows how to use words in a way that it just broke me down. He's hooting and hollering and cussing and tearing up a storm. And I'm sitting here, just tears running down my face like, please make this stop. Like, I'll take another ass whooping versus you giving me this verbal abuse. Like, you're talking to me like I'm a grown-ass man off the streets. Motherfuck this, motherfuck that. Who the fuck you think you are? You bitch-ass mother. Like, god damn. That shit, man.
I just can't do it. I can't take this shit no more, man.
I felt just like that. Just like that.
Where people attempting to install custom firmware on the PlayStation 3 through this feature, they removed it entirely through a system update. So Graph_Chocolo was responsible for creating an unofficial patch that would restore this functionality and even offer more flexibility for homebrew. Sony ended up filing a court order against these two individuals, which caused the well-known hacker group known as Anonymous to respond in turn, stating Sony had attacked their friends and that they wouldn't let it go. It was commonly believed that Anonymous attacked the PlayStation network, causing it to shut down for 3 days. This meant that you couldn't play games online on your PlayStation 3 whatsoever during that time, but Anonymous had realized that this attack was hurting consumers more than it was affecting Sony themselves, so they halted this attack for the time being. Shortly after, Sony themselves decided to shut down the PlayStation Network temporarily, as they worked to resolve many things on the back end, because it turned out that the data of millions of users may have been leaked and exposed, including email addresses, account information, purchase histories, payment details, and more. PSN ended up going down for roughly 23 days until Sony released a press conference where they apologized for the inconvenience and offered 2 free games.
I never worried about DDoSing. The reason why I never worried about DDoSing, I live on the southeast side of Chicago, 83rd and Dante. You just got to find a house, but that's my street, right? I never worried about a motherfucker. If you're brave enough to come here, hey, I'm willing to have whatever has to come towards me. I'm willing to do that. Like, I'm not worried about that shit. That's the last thing that... You think I'm worried about some punk maggot doing some goofy shit in the middle of fucking nowhere, Russia? Huh? I live on the southeast side of Chicago. I'm not worried about you. I got enough worryiness bullshit outside to deal with. You think I'm worried about your ass? Man, please come here. Please. Lord have mercy. I've been wanting to dust. You know what? Let me stop talking crazy.
And 30 days of PSN for free, because Sony did eventually start charging an annual fee for PSN. Even after all of this happened, Anonymous was never technically found guilty of any wrongdoing, nor were there any arrests associated with this hacking. No one really knows who pulled this off, but every PlayStation 3 owner that played games online at the time felt like they lost a lot of value. On the bright side, your single-player games became untouched, for the exception of trophy syncing. This was something that PlayStation 3 owners never really forgot about. The PlayStation 3 had gone through many obstacles since its launch in 2006, but Sony really believed in this platform, so they kept supporting it as much as possible. Many games were still being released, with Skyrim being a massive title seen in 2011, and Assassin's Creed being at its most popular at this point, releasing a brand new entry to the series, Assassin's Creed 3. But this wasn't the only thing that we saw coming out in October of 2012, because Sony launched a whole new PlayStation 3 model. This is now the Super Slim.
Bro, that's another thing, right? The PlayStation 3 had so many models. You had the 20 gig, the 60 gig, the 80 gig, the 160 gig, the 40 gig. And those are the fat PlayStations. That's 5 right there. Then you had the PlayStation Slim, which was 120 gigs. And then you had a 320 or 300 gig one. Is one of the two. And then you had the Super Slim. And I don't too much know about the Super Slim and stuff like that. I don't know how many different like hard drive configs they had and stuff like that. But that right there is 8 different PlayStation 3s. 8 different ones that you could have bought. 8 of them bitches. That shit is wild. That shit is fucking wild. You know what I'm saying? I be seeing people complain about, oh my God, why is the Xbox got an Xbox Series X and a Series S? Bro, if you would have went back 15 years ago and see how many fucking PlayStation 3s there was, you will shut the fuck up right now. Like, for real, you will shut the fuck up right now. Why is the PlayStation 5 got a all digital model and in a dish model? Bro, shut up. What is wrong with you? You fucking crazy, man? Bro, you must wasn't alive yet back in 2006. It was like 12 different PlayStation 3s. Shit.
The PS3 Super Slim was introduced at a time where the PlayStation 3 was beginning to be phased out, as Sony had much bigger plans for the near future. This hardware revision is what I would consider to be a true slim model, as it is significantly smaller than the fat model, and it does have a noticeably smaller footprint compared to the original Slim,
That shit look
even
ugly.
if it is still kind of big. So
That shit look like a Foreman's grill, a George Foreman's grill. What the fuck that shit look like? The fuck is that? That shit would never would have been in my room. The hell is that shit? That shit starting to look like a basic ass Xbox.
Frankly, it just became impossible to go back to the PS2 Slim style of consoles, as these units just have much more demanding cooling and space requirements. On the front, you will find 2 USB-A ports, a power button, and an eject button. On the back, you will find the exact same ports as before, which includes an Ethernet port, HDMI.
Hey, this might sound stupid, right? And they still be having this on consoles to this day. What the fuck is digital out? I never knew what it meant, nor have I ever heard anybody use it. What is that? Like, is it... Do they still put these motherfuckers on here? Oh, it ain't on here no more. Oh, okay. Yeah, because this motherfucker just got the power, HDMI, Ethernet, and 2 USBs. But yeah, but what the fuck is... What is digital out? What is that? It don't even look like nothing goes in there. It's like a... I don't know what the fuck that was. I don't know. That's just wild. That's just fucking wild. That's just to show you how much shit the PlayStation 3 had. It had fucking ports that had no use of nothing. But it was there, though, just in case. For you nerd motherfuckers. I know some of you motherfuckers, digital outage, this and that and blah, blah, blah. I use it all the time. Bro, you're like one of 1.00% of people that use that shit. You're a fucking oddball. You're like the only person that use that. What the fuck is that? Digital out. What is that? I know what everything else is. LAN, HDMI, AV. That's for the if motherfuckers still had the little component wires and shit, and then the power supply. I know what everything else is, but what the fuck is digital out? That shit is wild.
Port, AV port, optical audio port, and a power connector. The hard drive bay was moved to the right.
It's an audio port? For what? For what? The fuck you need an audio port for? That's what the HDMI is for. It sends video and audio do the same shit. Same thing with the component port, component wire port, whatever. It sends everything through that. So what you need that for? What are you hooking that up to?
Side behind this plastic cover. The Super Slim came in 2 models, one that included a 250GB hard drive for $270, and you could even pay $30 more to get the 500GB model. This was much more significant because people are purchasing games digitally much.
500 gigs PlayStation 3? Back when... Well, he said 2011. All right, so 2011... Yeah, 2011, you can download full games, but it's not as the norm what it is now. Now that's just the norm. Like you download all your games. You gotta download it. Don't nobody got a disc no more. You download it across the web. But back then, that shit was still brand new. Downloading full length games and shit like that. That was still brand new. It wasn't a thing yet. 500 gigs. You know how many movies I could have had on my PlayStation? Bro, y'all got to realize something. I was the man on the block. I was the only kid that had a PlayStation 3 in my neighborhood. Nobody else had that. Either they had an Xbox 360 or they had a PlayStation 2 still. Nobody had a PlayStation 3. I had a PlayStation 3. I had games. I had downloaded movies. Everybody wanted to come to my house. You know how much high school vagina I was getting? And I'm talking about 16-year-old me. I'm not talking about 32-year-old me. Whoa. No. All right. Not talking like that. Talking about 16-year-old me. Bro, I was the fucking man. Everybody wanted to come to my house. Like... Let's go to Fly House. He got the PlayStation 3. Come on. Shit. Come on.
more frequently than before. But of course, another big change with the Super Slim is the sliding door mechanism for the disc, as it doesn't use a motorized Blu-ray drive like before. These are much more reliable when it comes to durability, which is why some people prefer the Super Slim. But this one wasn't really affordable enough to become too popular, as it launched at basically the same price as the original Slim model. But of course, Sony had already been preparing for the next big thing. Sony saw its most challenging run in the gaming console race with the PlayStation 3, as they believed that they were on top of the world, since they sold about 3 times as many PS2s as the entire competition did combined at that time. They really believed that the PlayStation 3 would be their biggest console release ever, and they built it with the intention that it could last about 10 years before it needed to be replaced with its successor. They did not anticipate the reception from consumers upon review.
Well, when you think about it, it came out in 2006, and PlayStation 4 came out, what, 2013, 2014? So that's what, 7 years? It's a nice little run, 7 years. That's not bad. That's not bad, 7 years. I mean, PlayStation 5 has been out, what, 5 years now? But even though it's been out 5 years, really, we're kind of like in that mid-generation cycle where they got the Pro model out now, and the Pro model is a different model than what the original PlayStation 5 was. So really, the original PlayStation 5 only lasted from 2020 to what, 2024? And now we got the Pro model. So really, the PlayStation 5 only lasted 4 years. Because I'm sorry, the PlayStation 5 and the PlayStation 5 Pro are 2 different models. They're 2 different devices in my eyes. Because one is more powerful than the other one. So they're 2 different ones. They're not the same. So really, the PlayStation 5 only lasted 4 years. And now we're on the Pro model now. PlayStation 3, 7. PlayStation 2, from 2000 to 2006, 6 years. And then PlayStation, when did the PlayStation come out? What, 95, 96 to 2000? So what, 4 or 5 years? So out of all the generations, because the PlayStation 4 did the same thing. The PlayStation 4 came out in 2013. Then like 3 or 4 years later, the PlayStation 4 Pro came out. And then that lasted for like 3 years, and then the 5. So really, the PlayStation 3 lasted longer than any other generation. That's just to show you once again how impressive, how advanced, how powerful that console was in 2006. Because none of these other consoles is lasting that long. These things are weak. They're pitiful. They're bullshit. I want you to spend all that goddamn money and shit for a goddamn console and shit just to play a goddamn game of developers making all these bullshit ass games that's not even goddamn optimized right, running like shit. Come on now.
Revealing its launch price, or the issues that developers would come across when porting or even developing games for it, or the hardware-related issues that came about a little bit later, or even the network outages that came. But what Sony truly failed to recognize above all else is how strong the competition would be this time. The Wii was selling exceptionally well, as it didn't even compete with the PlayStation 3 or the 360, because everyone had one alongside.
What is the point of the Wii, and why did it sell so much? Like, I never understood that. What gravitated people to buy this? It was never a point in my life that I ever thought to myself, hey, I want a Wii to play some Mario. No, I'm cool, bro. I'm cool. I want to play some Super Smash. I'm cool, bro. I don't want to play that. I don't want to play that. It was a few times that I wish I had an Xbox because I wanted to try Halo, even though I don't like Halo. I wanted to try it. I wanted to see what all the fuss was about. I wanted to try Gears of War because I wanted to see what all the fuss was about. You know, it was a few times. It came across my head. I pondered on it for a split second, and then I smacked back into reality. You know, but the Wii, there was never, I never thought about I want a Wii to play this game or to try this. Never. Oh, Fly, you don't know what you're missing, man. Wii Fit was fun. And does it look like I need to play some fucking Wii Fit? Huh? Do I look like I need a workout? What the fuck are we talking about here? And I'm not playing no fucking Wii Fit. If I want to work out, I'll get over here and do some push-ups. The fuck I need to play a game for? I just don't. I never seen the need for this shit. But this motherfucker sold like hotcakes. Shit is wild. Everybody had it. The mother of my child, when we were still together, I used to go over there to her house. She and her mama and all of them, they were just playing this motherfucker just constantly. Just having so much fun with it. I'm just sitting there like, how is this fun? How? What is this? You're doing this and doing that with the controller. That bitch is going to fly out your hand. You're going to break that TV that you got. That's what's going to end up happening. This don't look like fun. But they played it all the time, constantly. Every time I came over there, that motherfucker was on. I said, holy shit. What the hell? And she had all the games for that motherfucker. All types of shit. I never seen the point of that shit. I ain't gonna lie to you. I never seen the point of that. I have never seen the point of a Wii. Never. It's not one game on there that I want to play. Not one. I never been a Mario fan. I'm sorry. Never been a Mario fan. The only time, because I had a GameCube, the only time I had any type of enjoyment off of my GameCube was for two games because they only came out on Nintendo. Star Wars, I think it was Road Sergeant. I think that's what it was called. It only came out on the GameCube. I don't know why, but it only came out on the GameCube. I had that because I had a GameCube and I had that game. And Animal Crossing. I'm not gonna lie, Animal Crossing is actually fun, bro. W to Animal Crossing. Hey. I fucks with Animal Crossing. I fucks it. I don't know why. It's soothing. It's relaxing. I fucks with Animal Crossing. So I had those two games. And those was like and I also had what was it? Resident Evil. And I think back then Resident Evil only came out on Nintendo 2 as well. I had Resident Evil. I don't know which one, but it was one of them. Those are like the only three games I had on that console. Anything else, I'm buying it for either the PlayStation or the Xbox. So what's the point of me buying it for the Nintendo GameCube? And then they had them little penis ass, discs and shit. Like, what the fuck is this? The shit looked like a disc that's supposed to go into the PSP. It was a little ass disc like this and shit. Just trying to be different and shit. You know what I'm saying? Just being difficult. Why are you trying to be different? Give me a regular ass CD. A regular size CD. Why you got this little ass thing? Just something that I can lose even easier. Like, I didn't know what the... Why did I even get a GameCube? Who got that for me? Who got the GameCube for me? Because my mama... Well, when I say my mama, I don't know. I don't know. I'm sure my mama and daddy, but who presented it to me? Because you got to realize my daddy lives in Virginia. I'm up here in Chicago. My mama presented it to me, but I'm sure he had involvements in the purchase price and shit like that. But if I can remember, I think I got the GameCube when I went to Virginia during the summertime, and I think my daddy bought me that. If I can remember, I think that's how I got it. Yeah, I think my daddy bought me that. But that was like the only time in my life where I had all the consoles that was out. I had PlayStation 2, original Xbox, and Nintendo GameCube. From there, when the next generation of games came out, I just had PlayStation 3. I just had PlayStation 3. I had bought a used Xbox from GameStop like in 2009 because I just wanted to. I just had to try Halo because people talk about it so much. I just had to try it, and I tried it and I didn't like it. So what I did, if you buy something used from GameStop, you got up to like 14 days to return it. I gave them that Xbox back. You can have this shit. I don't want it. I don't want it. Sir, you don't like your purchase? What's wrong with it? Something's wrong with it. I don't know. It keeps on cutting in and out. Give me my money back. I don't want it. Fuck that shit. Fuck that shit. Fuck that shit.
Side one of those systems. And the Xbox 360 was a more budget-friendly and developer-friendly system, with hit after hit coming out on it too. The PlayStation 3 just wasn't going to be on top, and Sony was forced to realize why so many things went wrong. The PlayStation 3 deserves so much better. But so many mistakes were made with the system. PS3 was incredibly powerful, but difficult to develop for, which is why we didn't start seeing its best games until the end of the generation. But it can't be denied how exciting it was to be a gamer at this time, since everyone had incredible offerings, becoming the most competitive generation in all of gaming. The Xbox 360 sold 84 million units, which was a massive success in Microsoft's eyes. The Wii, likewise, was incredibly lucrative for Nintendo as they sold 100 million units, beating Microsoft and Sony this generation. PlayStation 3 still managed to outsell the 360 by selling 87.4 million units, but they were almost neck and neck. This, however, landed Sony right in the middle, at second place. They were not satisfied, as they definitely expected much more from the PlayStation 3, but the truth is that we were all expecting more. And expecting better. Sony was forced to rethink their entire strategy as the PlayStation 3 lifetime sales were somewhat disappointing, so they worked very hard on how to turn everything around and bring as many gamers as possible back on their platform. This was their answer, and their second most successful game console of all time. We will talk about this one very soon, so stay tuned and subscribe so that you don't miss it. Now, thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments.
I'm not gonna watch it right now. I'm gonna watch that another day. But I gotta see what he says about the PlayStation 4. The PlayStation 4, I don't know. I wasn't fucking with it. I'm sorry. I wasn't fucking with it. Like, I guess because I got spoiled by the PlayStation 3 so much with all the extra little things that you don't think about that you can do on there, which made it better to me. Like, the web browser. I could download movies. I could do this. I could do that. Free online and all that old shit. PlayStation 4 didn't have no web browser that I don't think of. You couldn't download shit, I don't think. They started charging people for online service and all that old shit. Like,